Hello guys, what's up? Flavio Gargano here. I'm very glad to introduce you to a new and exciting video tutorial series about production for music industry. We're going to create the main structure of a song while being inspired by famous artists from all over the world. No external plugins or VST. Everything will be made within Cubase Pro and its amazing tools. So, hang on to your seats and let's get started. Let's have a look at the project. As you can see, each track has different colors. I generally use the same colors for each instrument's family. For example, the bass red, the drums yellow, and so on, in order to create a visual habit in my brain. I like to manage a drum kit splitting the percussion on different tracks, having so a quick view about what is playing and of course for the editing operation as well. Furthermore, I like to group all the tracks in a folder named Project. That's very handy, especially when you have to copy a part of your song without fighting with the track selections. Then I create a marker track that I called Parts, where I label the song structure. Last, in order to save even more space, I moved all the VST, groups and FX tracks in another folder that I named Tools, so that you realized I'm not good in naming tracks. By the way, then I go to the Visibility tab and uncheck it. Let's create the first instrument, the synth op. Let's have a quick overview of the synth section. We got 3 tabs: the oscillator, the arpeggiator, and the effects. In the synth page we got the oscillator section, its amplifier consisting of an ADSR, the mixer section, the filter section, the modulator section with 4 low filter oscillator LFO, plus 1 envelope, and last the matrix section. Don't be scared by all this information, I will show you time by time how to use them. I want to start from zero and show you how easy it is to create the sound you want in few clicks. I go right here and choose Initiate. I want to craft a kind of plucked sound similar to a synth guitar. That means that I have to lower the sustain all the way down, increase the decay, and of course I want some release as well that will keep the sound after I release the key on my keyboard. Cool! Now I want to change the waveform. For the oscillator 1, I select Square, Shape 2, Multi, Fixed Phase. In order to create a kind of a flanger effect, I increase the number of voices to 5 and set the detune to 1. That's a very tiny change, but it makes a huge difference. For the oscillator 2, I go for Ramp, Multi, and Phase Fix 0. This time I want to get a kind of a wide chorus effect, so I set the number of voices to 5 and the tune to 10. And then I want to add a little bit of a saturation and resonance. Pay attention, with this cutoff settings the resonance will not affect the sound, but as I move the cutoff, the resonance comes into the game. Now I want the cutoff to be controlled by the modulation wheel. This will help me create a variation between the verses and the refrain. To do that, right-click on the cutoff and choose Modulation Wheel, Enable. Of course, I can assign it to any CC. Just right-click, Learn CC, and move any knob or slider on your MIDI controller. Very easy, isn't it? Then I move to the effects page and activate the reverb. And adjust the mix. Then I want to turn the modulation effects on and select Ensemble. Activate the sync and set the rate 1. Shimmer 50%. And I adjust the mix to 50%, less more. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that, but maybe I want to add a touch of EQ. So I load frequency 2. I want to let pass just some mid frequencies. So I cut around 100 Hz and increase on 500 Hz. Now, here comes the cool part. I want to boost at 1 kHz, but just on the sides to make the sound wider. So here I select mid side. You see two tabs appeared. I leave the mid tab as it is, and in the side tab I set the gain to 11 dBs. If you put your headset on, you will hear a huge difference in terms of space, but I want you to visualize the change as well. I bypass the band 4 for a while. Look what happened when I turn it back on. As you can see, the sound gets wider because I counterfaced this frequency. That's very cool, isn't it? So guys, just promise me you will use this trick in your next production. Now I want to layer another sound that will play just the lower part of the previous sequence. So I open Alien Sonic SCU3 and I load Jazz Piano A. And of course I want to adjust the sound in order to make it complementary with the previous layer. So I just open frequency and I make a low cut on 80 Hz. And set the Q to 3 to create a slider resonance on this frequency. Then I high cut on 1 kHz. Now I'm gonna group the piano and the plucked synth, so I can quick control them, and of course to save CPU by adding just one instance of those effects I wanna apply on both channels. So I'm gonna add a stereo delay and set the time to 1/8 and 1/4. Mix 20%, feedback 60%. Then I add a standard compressor, set very high ratio, and I tweak the threshold. And of course I adjust the gain according to the gain reduction. See how the compressor enhances the delay effects and at the same time attenuate the peaks. This is the before and after. Now, as you remember, we assigned the cutoff to the modulation wheel. Let's create some variations. I'm gonna set the filter open on the intro and then I close it on the first verse. Then I'm gonna gradually open the filter before the refrain. That's a simple but very effective way to make your song looks interesting. Therefore, this transition, along with the reversed crash, will work as a raise effect leading to the refrain. Let's move to the drum kit. I'm gonna use Groove Agent SCE5. It's a very powerful VST with tons of samples and patterns included. You can load the sample just moving to Media, Loops and Samples, and type in the search bar the sample you're looking for. Then just drag and drop. I created my drum kit yet, assigned to each percussion's different color and output. On the right side you can see several tabs, but for the moment we'll stay focused on the main tab, where you can set the samples in out and fade it. A little trick about the crash. If I want to create a reverse version of it, just copy the normal crash on another pad, then move to the sample tab and click reverse. And done. Very easy. Let's take a look at the pattern I created. Very basic, simple, it works fine. But now I want to work on each percussion. This sound is pretty close to the result I want. By the way, I want to get rid of some frequencies and add more punch. Then I want to add some dBs on 90 Hz. Let's compress. I use Tube Compressor and record the preset Kick 1. Then I add a touch of tube sound. Let's check the difference. This is before and after. For the snare, first I want to get rid of some low-end frequencies. And of course, I want to attenuate this metallic sound I spotted around 7 kHz. But I lost too much presence, so I put it back, giving a little boost on 3 kHz. A good way to spot annoying frequencies is to press the auto listen for filters that will automatically isolate the frequency you are working on. Very handy, isn't it? Now, what about more snare body? Just like that. I want to add a vintage compressor and dramatically squash the sound. So I set the input to 10, huge ratio to 20. And then I set the mix around 40%. Careful here, always avoid digital distortions. So I lowered the output a little bit. Last but not least, a touch of reverb. I select the preset ambient dark, and of course I adjust the mix level. For the hi-hat, I just copy-paste the previous reverb and raise the beat on 200 Hz. Crashes and toms are okay as they are, so I sent all the percussions to a group track with the limiter just to get a more compressed signal, but paying attention to not kill the transients. Nice, very solid and essential groove. I like it. Let's move to the bass. I built a really deep analog bass that allows me to play some bending effects as well. But I want to show you how easy it is to get a cool bass in few clicks. Don't you trust me? Let's count! What a huge bass! Of course, I can further improve it by adding some details, but let me roll back for a while to show you what I've done. First, I lowered the master pitch by 1 octave. Then I set the oscillator 1 to sine, multi, number of voices 5, and the tune 20 to create a chorus effect and give more space to the sound. For the oscillator 2, I select square and lower down this guy. Next, I turn on the sub. My purpose is to make the sound richer in terms of harmonics. Let me show you what I mean. This is the oscillator 1. As you can see, it's mainly focused on the bass frequencies. Now I'm gonna open the oscillator 2, the square. See how much the frequency spectrum changed. Going back to our bass, I'm gonna lower the cutoff, like that. I wanna add even more harmonics by slightly increasing the distortion and the resonance. Very nice. Now I wanna create a more interesting attack by playing with the filters, so I lower the sustain and increase the decay a little bit. And of course, to make this change effective, I have to move the envelope. In this way, I'm just telling to the cutoff to start from a high value, then decay. Last, I wanna set the upper and lower pitch bend to 12 semitones, means 1 octave, cause I wanna play some bending effects. Few more things. I figured out that the stereo image is a bit too wide, and that's not so good, cause the general mixing rule is to keep the kick and bass pretty in the center. I can fix this by adding a stereo enhancer and setting the width value to 50%. Next, I wanna get back some mid frequencies, around 500 Hz. Besides, there are some annoying peaks on 100 Hz. Let's fix it. Of course, I might just lower the gain, but I will lose a lot of signal, and that's not so good. So I want to compress just that band. And I activate band compressor and set the ratio to 6. And a pretty quick attack and release. And I lower the threshold until I reach those peaks. Yes, that's exactly what I want. Next, I want to add a small compression just to get a more uniform sound. So I load the standard compressor and set the ratio to 6. Pretty quick attack. And lower the threshold. Okay, let's have a quick listen to what we've done till now. One important thing about mixing kick and bass. Let's focus on the common prominent frequencies. Once summed, they will generating a lot of peaks, and that's not good. Of course, I can fix this by compressing those frequencies, like this. But I can make a further improvement by activating the band compressor just when the kick plays. And I'm gonna do that with the side chain. So I activate it. Then I go here and click on single band. Activate the side chain and set the input to side chain 1. But nothing happened. Then I move to the kick channel track and in the send slot I select bass frequency side chain 1. Let me exclude band 2 and 4 for a while and look, you can clearly see the kick triggering the compressor, and that's exactly what I want. Amazing! Let's move to the next instrument, the synth pad. This time I want to start from a preset. I found this patch called Big Keys. It's pretty close to the sound I want. Let's make some tweaks. First of all, I lower the main tune by 1 octave. Close this up, and I set the oscillator 1, the tune 5. For the oscillator 2 I go for square and set the tune to 10. Then I move to the amplifier section and I lower the velocity all the way down. I'm gonna get rid of the matrix section. Then I move to the filter section. I want the cutoff to attack quickly and then fall down, so I set the attack to the minimum. As I move the envelope, you will start hearing the result. See that? And I want to lower down the release as well. One more trick, maybe I prefer a lower harmonic for the oscillator 2. Yes, sounds better. I want to control the cutoff by the modulation wheel, so as we saw before, right-click on the cutoff, modulation wheel, enable. Besides, I want to set 100 Hz as the minimum value, so right-click here and set minimum. And I want to add a stereo enhancer to widen the stereo image and make the refrain sounds huge. Let's give it a ride. In addition to using the cutoff, I enrich the harmony as well to create a more considerable variation. Very nice. Just to have a rough idea of the final mix, I look at the sub-frequencies and I put a maximizer on the mix bus. And this is the result. Okay, it seems we've done, but I have a little surprise for you. Check this out.
We always fight and I hate you so much. Losing control, I gave you this ghost. I saw the darkness, I thought so we are. Without your eyes I lose myself.
Sounds nice, isn't it? Let's see what I've done.
We always fight and I hate you so much.
Here I have a lead vocal track sang by my friend. Let's suppose I want to harmonize that. I asked him to sing a secondary vocal line on just one note, located in the middle between the higher and lower pitch range. This turns in a better pitch manipulation, avoiding so possible digital distortions. I moved this part on an empty track, then I load the pitch correction plugin. I set the speed on 100, tolerance 0, cause we're not patient musicians. Just kidding. I just don't want any original pitch to pop up. But the magic happened when I switched the scale source from internal to external MIDI note. So now you can control the sample pitch with your MIDI keyboard. To control the plugin, you have to create a MIDI track that I named Vox 5. Then go to the MIDI output and select Vox 5 Pitch Correct MIDI in. Check this out.
We always fight and I hate you so much. Losing control, I gave you this ghost.
Here I played the first harmonization, that is just one octave lower than the original vocal line. Now I want to create another vocal line, but this time with the original pitch. So I select both track, choose Duplicate, and on the new MIDI channel I assign the MIDI out to the pitch correction plugin related to it, in my case Vox 2.
We always fight and I hate you so much. Losing control.
This method is a bit unconventional, but very flexible, cause allows you to create independent vocal line. Let me show you what I mean.
Ghost.
Let's suppose we want to create a small variation right here. So I steal the A sounds of Disgust.
Disgust.
Trigger it and stretch it. Then I move to the MIDI track and I write down some new notes and...
Losing control, I gave you disgust.
That's just amazing, isn't it? Repeating the same process with multiple tracks, you can really reach the harmony and get results like this one.
We always fight and I hate you so much. Losing control, I gave you disgust. I saw the darkness, I thought so we are.
The nice thing about this story is that if I open Cubase pool, maybe you do expect to find all the audio samples we worked on. Instead, there are just the 2 original files used multiple times. More manageable, more time saving. That's the key, guys. But now I think we deserve to give a ride to the final result. Let's do it.
We always fight and I hate you so much. Losing control, I gave you disgust. I saw the darkness, I thought so we are. Without your eyes I lose myself.
That's just a small taste of the great potential you can unleash with Cubase Pro. Of course, there are several ways to achieve similar result. Let me know your opinion in the comments and don't miss the Cubase project link in the description. I see you soon in the next video of Create Like a Pro.